Hey, what's going on, folks? It's CJ here, back with 3BG at the movies, and we're going to be talking about the movie The Moment, directed by Aiden Samiri, and it stars Charlie XCX, Rosanna Arquette, and Alexander Skarsgård, and shockingly enough, a lot of other random appearances. One of them being by Kylie Jenner. So this is interesting because I like to say this up front. When it comes to sort of documentary style movies about a musician, I'm that's not my wheelhouse. You get the Beyonce and Taylor Swift sort of documentary concert movies and stuff. Those are the type of films that more skewed towards the fan base of those two, more so than the average moviegoer. The thing about The Moment is basically the opposite of that. It's a mockumentary version of those sort of concert documentaries, which, from my understanding, that's what Charlie XCX was going for, because the sort of genesis of how this movie got made was because of the fact that you had the Taylor Swift and Beyonce that were doing those sort of concert documentaries, and Charlie was constantly getting pushed to want to do those things. So she said, "Bump it! I want to do a mockumentary style where she stars as herself, as a sort of basically a look at sort of the pressures of being a pop star and sort of the ebbs and flows of that." So for me, as someone who isn't really familiar with Charlie XCX like that, like I know one of the songs that she was a part of was "I Love It" and such. So I'm pretty sure you can figure that out. But past that, like I know of her, but I don't listen to her music. So this was kind of interesting for me because it's like I'm approaching this movie as someone that's not familiar with the artist. Well, I'm familiar enough just in the name, but like I'm not really as engaged with her music like somebody that might is a fan of her is. So I'm taking this movie for the mockumentary that is presenting itself as. And as far as mockumentaries go, this movie is not really that good. Um, I feel in this movie being the mockumentary on Charlie XCX is juggling a lot of different ideas of what it wants to do, because when it goes out of its way to try to be funny at times, the comedy is very hit and miss. Sometimes, when the comedy hits, you're kind of like, huh, that's funny. And other times it's like, I don't get what the hell the joke was. And then the drama in the movie, when there is drama, it's just very surface level drama that's just like you just kind of shrug like, okay, I don't get what the stakes are, you know. Um Essentially the whole thing is that you're watching Charlie XCX navigate through the sort of complexities of, fame and a lot of the pressures that comes with being an artist and musician and stuff, in terms of, she in this movie is preparing for her arena tour debut, with from off of her Brat album and stuff, which again, I'm familiar with the Brat album, but I've never really listened to music from off of it. But basically, the core of the movie is her ramping up, her going on tour for that album. So you're watching her go through the process of like, doing the promos and stuff with radio shows, doing stuff like doing, Brat credit cards to kind of push, people to buy these credit cards that's going to go towards the album, being used for her, arena tour and stuff. Navigating a lot of drama from her entourage that's a part of it, and just her just being kind of over all of it. And I think for me, why I just was just very disengaged with the film was that I've seen mockumentaries like this is Spinal Tap, for instance, right? Which I'm pretty sure you're gonna get a lot of people that's gonna compare this movie to it. And the thing about it is, mockumentaries normally are movies that you're engaged in. You're like, oh, okay, I dig what this movie is trying to do, so I'll go with it. This movie doesn't do that. It's like it's trying to bring all these different sort of like I said, the drama, the comedy, and all that stuff that you would get in a mockumentary, but it's like the movie doesn't understand what a mockumentary is supposed to do. It's supposed to like be a send up of all those things. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. And it's like the movie is trying to take itself seriously and then doesn't. And then at the same time, with everything that's happening in the film, it also ends up being very boring, which is wild because again, you would probably assume, oh, well, you're not a fan of Charlie XCX, so of course you're going to find the movie boring. And it's like, no, even if I'm not a fan of Charlie XCX, if this is really a mockumentary about her and her navigating fame in the music industry and stuff, it should at least be engaging enough for me to kind of like, okay, I can dig what this movie's putting down, but it doesn't do that. And basically, it's just if you're a fan of Charlie XCX, you'll probably like it. If you're not familiar with her, I'm just gonna say stay away from this film. Um, I just think for what the film was trying to do, it just doesn't hit those highs that you would expect. And that's unfortunate because I think, like I said at the top, this was a litmus test for me to see whether I can enjoy this even as someone that doesn't engage with their music. And this, at the end of the day, unfortunately, this movie just doesn't hit. I mean, visually, it hits all those things that you expect of following someone that's in the music industry. So you get those sort of like clips of, I'm assuming from when she went on tour for this album in real life, and they intersplice it with all the other stuff, the behind the scenes stuff and her navigating all the meetings and the promos and all that stuff. And it does work on that level, but past that, it's like the movie is just juggling so many ideas and it doesn't know how to just sit on one solid idea of what they want to do for the movie. It's just very scatterbrained. So unfortunately, I honestly can't recommend this movie unless you're actually a legit fan of Charli XCX. And like I said, just engaging with this movie as just a mockumentary, it doesn't really hit the way it is. So, and like I said, that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And given that this is coming from A24, I kind of expected more out of that, but it is what it is. But at any rate, that's that. And yeah, I will catch you guys later. Peace.
Hey, Kuro, turn it up.